Is there one team that you think is really going to have a big collapse or a second half of the season surge, Andy? I mean, I guess Everton might be a good contender depending on who they get in charge. There's talks of Marcelo Bielsa, maybe Ralph Hasenhüttl, or maybe Wayne Rooney at the time of filming. I mean, Sean Dyche would seem like a good safe option, but doesn't seem to be linked with a job. I mean, what's your thoughts on Everton and their current situation? Because that seems like a team that it could go either way very quickly, good or bad for them right now.
Yeah, the common denominator with all the teams that we talked about as disappointments or down at the bottom of the Premier League is the entire structure of the club, of all those clubs, feels like it's on fire at every single club. Southampton, the way that they have spent in recent years and recruited, Joe, we've had numerous conversations about that. Obviously, Everton and the managers that they've gone through. Wolves have gone through some managers. West Ham are potentially looking at David Moyes' spot. Leicester have been chaotic for a few years, and Everton probably the most egregious among all of them for the way that they've done their business the last few years. That's a really, really tough job to go into. I think Bielsa, if you could hire Bielsa and convince him to take a job as an interim manager for the rest of this season, I think he probably comes in and does a great job and just reorganizes things. And I think the pieces fit the way he wants to play pretty well. They'd have to pick it up, but I think they could do that. But going into next season, he should not be in charge because you need to rebuild a long-term project. And he's been very clearly not that kind of a manager for quite a long time in his career now. So it does feel like Everton going, who's the biggest name? Who's the most exposure that we could hire right now? Let's go get him. And that's what they're going to do again.
Yeah, it's worked out not great for them in the past doing that. Nick, what are your thoughts on Everton and the Frank Lampard reign? It was less than a year. Obviously, kept them up last season, just about in the end, but hasn't been great. Again, not a lot of money to spend, but they spent poorly in the past. The squad construction, the style of play. I mean, the Everton fans weren't really blaming Lampard. They were more so blaming the board and directors, but it did seem like the right time for him to move on, given the poor points tally and form. And it's only really heading in one direction for them unless they get Bielsa or someone who's going to totally change the course of their season. Because you've mentioned it before, they do have a very talented squad when you actually start to look at the individuals, but it's about making that a cohesive unit and actually a horrible team to play against once again.
Which they should be. And credit to Lampard for a few things. What he's done with Iwobi is as surprising as anything that I've seen besides when Eddie Howe made Joe Wellington a center midfielder. I've loved Iwobi's responsibility with that team. I love Mikolenko as a left back. I'm not a fan of Pickford as a dude, but he's an okay goalkeeper. Cody, Tarkovsky. I think they'll be fine. This isn't a shot at Lampard. He got what he needed out of Richarlison, and they got safe last year, and that matters. But right now, they need more than cheerleading. They need someone who's going to put in a safety system. And I'm not talking like Big Sam. They've done that before. But whoever they bring in, I expect to see a surge. I think they needed a change more than anything, and it may be symbolic because maybe it really is the board's fault. That's always very possible. But I think you could have brought in a whole new board and you'd still be stuck with a manager who probably isn't fit to do that particular job. And I think Lampard, like Steven Gerrard beforehand, I'd like to see him go back down to the championship and get used to scrapping a little bit harder.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. For even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you over there.